The first crack didn't come from yelling. It came from a whisper. It was 1:47 a.m. I remember because I looked at the clock as I woke up to her voice. My back was turned to her, but I was wide awake. Emily thought I was asleep. Rookie mistake. She was curled up on her side, phone pressed against her lips like she was sharing sacred secrets. "You proved you're a man," she whispered. "Mine only talks." Those 7 words slid down my spine like a razor dipped in ice. She giggled. Soft, low, teasing. "You know he's clueless, right? Keeps talking about us, like we're still a thing. But don't worry, baby, he won't be a problem for long." I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just reached slowly beneath the mattress, pulled out the burner phone I kept for emergencies, and hit record. No reaction. No sound. No pain on my face. Only clarity. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to scream. I'm not a clown. I'm the alpha. The next morning, while she was in the shower humming like the same woman who hadn't just sold my dignity for some side pipe, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. Quiet. Cold. Focused. I moved assets. Every account with both our names gone. The house? Transferred. My business shares? Isolated and sealed. I made a call to a friend who owed me a favor in finance law. By the time Emily came out with her towel wrapped around her like innocence, I had already begun the war. She kissed my cheek. I wanted to grab her by the hair and drag her back to that call, force her to explain every filthy lie, but I just smiled. A smile she didn't deserve. "You okay?" she asked. "Never better," I replied. That day, she wore red lipstick. She never wore red. She claimed it was for a new work presentation. I watched her in that tight dress that was definitely bought for someone else's eyes. And I told her she looked incredible. She texted the moment she left the driveway. I had the tracker on her car. She thought it was for safety. I knew better. She headed straight for the same spot she told me didn't exist, a project site 40 minutes away. She didn't know I already had the address. A week later, her real man got served at his job in silence. I didn't even have to lift a finger. He walked out of his office into a courtroom ambush so smooth it would have made a Netflix thriller jealous. The look on his face as the documents landed in his hand? Priceless. That was my first move. The rest? I kept loading. I didn't tell Emily a word. I made her believe I was still that talker. I cooked dinner. I even took her to brunch with her mother and acted like everything was fine. Meanwhile, I was planting every mine in the field. Then came the voicemail from her best friend Ashley, the one who had no clue I was still connected to our joint cloud. She left a message meant for Emily. "Girl, I still can't believe you said that to him. You proved you're a man, oof, savage. He really doesn't know, huh? Well, not yet." That was the moment I knew. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't one night. It was a full-blown betrayal, soaked in arrogance and disrespect. This wasn't just cheating. It was war. I sat alone that night. Whiskey in one hand, her phone in the other. She'd left it unlocked, assuming I'd never check it. Rookie mistake number 2. Messages. Dozens. Photos. Voice notes. Filthy things. He called her queen. She sent him selfies in lingerie she once told me just didn't feel right anymore. I stared at one shot, then glanced down at the floor where that same red lace was still bunched near the bed. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I just whispered back. "You proved you're a bitch. Mine only lies." Tomorrow, I'd confront her. Not with a scream. Not with tears. With truth. And silence. Because the loudest answer needs no sound. It's not just the whisper in the night that breaks a man. It's the days that follow when you notice the lies have fingerprints, and every smile she gives you feels rehearsed. The morning after that recorded call, I started noticing everything I had been too blind or too trusting to see. Emily used to leave her phone charging in the kitchen overnight. Now, it was always under her pillow. Locked, silent, and face down. She used to ask about my day, listen, joke, touch my shoulder when I talked. Now, she nodded without hearing, scrolled through her phone while I spoke, and gave those shallow, automatic responses like, "Oh really? And that's great, babe," without even blinking. I started watching, observing. Every time she got a text, her thumb would hesitate before opening it. Her lips would curl into this little smirk, the kind I hadn't seen since our honeymoon. But that smile wasn't for me. It hadn't been for a long time. She started dressing different too. Not drastically, just enough that it only made sense if you looked hard. Nails always done, hair curled even on a random Tuesday, perfume that used to be reserved for anniversaries. And suddenly, she was always busy. Working late. Client dinners. Girls' night with friends who I knew hadn't seen her in months. I played along. Smile for smile. Nod for nod. I was a ghost in my own marriage, haunting a house filled with scripted affection. The real confirmation came on a Thursday. She left her laptop open. Careless. Overconfident. She must have forgotten I helped set up her email once. Used the same password for everything. I knew I shouldn't look, but I did. And once you open that door, you don't get to close it. The first thing I saw was a hotel confirmation. Under a name that wasn't hers, Samantha Lake. But the email was hers. Booked for 2 nights. King Suite. Downtown. Room service included. Attached was a calendar invite. Dinner and dessert with my king face-blowing kiss. Don't be late this time. I clicked the thread. That king was named Derek. She'd been seeing him for over 6 months. Some gym-obsessed, wannabe alpha who sold real estate and called himself a mentor in his bio. He sent her pictures of his body, the kind of shots meant to make her feel desired. And she replied with comments like, "Can't wait to ride you," until he texts asking where I am, faced with tears of joy. He still thinks I'm in love with him. Pathetic. Pathetic. That word echoed in my skull like a shotgun blast. I scrolled further. She sent him pictures of our bedroom, our couch, our kitchen, places where we built memories, used like a playground for 2 people who thought I was too dumb, too weak, too soft to notice. But I noticed. Oh, I noticed everything. That night, she came home and kissed me like nothing had changed. She called me babe and asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I said sure. Picked something romantic. I watched her face while we sat side by side. She laughed at the love scenes, cried at the happy ending. I kept replaying the phrase. He still thinks I'm in love with him. She didn't know that I knew. And that gave me power. Power to plan. Power to hold the truth like a weapon, waiting for the moment to strike. But something in me already shifted. The woman I married, she was gone. Replaced by a version of Emily that was colder, crueler, and more calculated than I'd ever imagined. This wasn't some mistake. This was a performance. And I had been nothing more than her audience. Now, it was my turn to become the director. I had the perfect opportunity 3 days later. Saturday night. We were invited to her cousin Chloe's engagement party. One of those events filled with fake smiles, forced toasts, and couples pretending to be happy. I almost laughed at how poetic it felt. Emily got dressed slow, deliberate. Red dress. Same one from the photo she'd sent to Derek. Her hair curled the same way. Lipstick shade, crimson flame. I watched her in the mirror while she applied it, smiling to herself like she already knew the night would go her way. "You look amazing," I told her. She turned, winked. "Took you long enough to notice." I wanted to throw every screenshot on the table right there. Let her choke on her lies. But no, not yet. That would have been mercy. And Emily didn't deserve mercy. We drove in silence. She scrolled her phone the whole way, then turned the screen down every time I glanced her way. She was texting Derek. I knew it. I could feel it. At the party, she played the role of the loving wife. Hand on my arm, laugh in perfect rhythm with mine, compliments to relatives who didn't even like her. I stood beside her, wondering how many people here knew. If Ashley had let something slip. If her sister had noticed the sudden change in her stories. After dessert, we stepped outside. Patio lights glowing. Champagne fizzing in her glass. I took her hand. "You know," I said, "I've been thinking a lot about us." She sipped her drink, didn't even look up. About how distant we've been. How we've changed." She smiled with tight lips. "You think so?" I nodded slowly. "I know so." She put her glass down. "You're not about to get all emotional on me, are you? It's Chloe's night." Her tone sliced deeper than she knew. Or maybe she knew exactly. I looked at her, really looked. The same woman I once stayed up till 3 a.m. with, dreaming about our future, now couldn't tolerate 5 minutes of real conversation. There was a stranger under her skin. I leaned in slightly. "You whispered something the other night. Thought I was asleep." She froze. I watched her eyes flick, calculating. "What?" "You said, you proved you're a man. Mine only talks." A beat passed. Just one. Her lips parted. I continued, low and sharp. "I heard it. I recorded it." Her eyes went wide, then narrowed. "You went through my phone?" she asked, voice cold. "No," I said calmly. "You gave me all I needed just by opening your mouth." She stepped back. "That's a complete violation, Eric. You can't just—" "No yelling," I cut her off. "I'm not a clown. I'm the man you forgot I was." She scoffed. "So what? You're gonna cry now? Throw some dramatic fit in front of my family. No, I said, voice calm as stone. I already moved the assets. Took my name off the house. You'll be served by Monday. Her mouth dropped. You're bluffing. I smiled. Your real man already was. I turned and walked away. Left her there on that patio, surrounded by string lights and stunned silence. I didn't wait for her cries or her excuses. Didn't need to. As I reached the car, I felt the smallest weight lift. Like the first brick had been removed from the wall she'd built around me. And for the first time in months, I wasn't the one being played. You always think you'll explode. You imagine catching your wife cheating and losing control, flipping a table, screaming until your throat burns, storming out like some dramatic movie scene. But the truth? It's quieter. Heavier. I didn't explode. I sank. After the confrontation at the party, I didn't go home. I drove aimlessly for 2 hours, headlights blurring into the night like ghosts. My phone buzzed 17 times. All her. I didn't answer. She sent texts. We need to talk. You don't understand everything. I made a mistake. Please. Mistake? No. A mistake is locking your keys in the car. A 6-month affair, recorded whispers, and red lace selfies in my house? That's not a mistake. That's a decision. I ended up at a motel just outside of town. Not because I had nowhere else to go, I had options. Friends. My brother. Even my lawyer offered a guest room. But I needed silence. I needed to sit with the wreckage. I sat on that stiff mattress and stared at the ceiling. I don't know how long. Time didn't matter. I replayed everything. Our first date. Our wedding. The night we slow danced in the living room after her mom died. Her tears on my chest. My promise to protect her. Always. It all felt like a cruel joke now. I thought I'd cry. But I didn't. The tears sat behind my eyes, locked up like prisoners waiting for a key that wouldn't come. Instead, I just felt hollow. Hollow and humiliated. How do you explain this to people? That your wife turned into a stranger? That the person you trusted most used your love as a weapon? That while you were planning anniversaries, she was planning hotel escapes with a man who probably couldn't spell commitment? She called again. I finally picked up. I wanted to hear how low she'd go. Her voice was soft, like I was some child she was soothing. Eric, please. Can we talk? You don't know everything. Try me. She sighed. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. I was lonely. You've been so distant lately, always working, always distracted. That was her angle. Blame me. Of course. You know what I've been doing while distracted? I snapped. Paying off your car. Building a business that you benefited from. Planning a future with a woman who was already planning her escape. She was quiet. You disrespected me in ways that aren't even about cheating, Emily, I continued. You enjoyed it. You laughed about it. You humiliated me in our own bed. I didn't mean to. You whispered into the phone like I was already dead. I cut in. I heard you. You proved you're a man. Mine only talks. You wanted him to feel like he'd won something. And me? You wanted me to stay dumb and blind. You were never supposed to find out. That line broke me. Not because it was cruel, but because it was honest. She didn't regret doing it. She regretted getting caught. I already filed, I said flatly. Check your email in the morning. Click. Silence. That night, I finally cried. Not for her. Not even for the marriage. I cried for the version of myself who loved her without limits. The man who believed in her more than she ever deserved. The fool who thought loyalty was mutual just because love was real. But as the tears dried, something else rose in me. Clarity. If she thought she broke me, she underestimated the one thing she never truly understood. I don't stay broken. You don't wake up one morning and stop loving someone. It doesn't flip off like a switch. It fades, like the last few notes of a song you used to play on repeat. You still remember the words, but they don't hit the same anymore. Sunday morning, I woke up in that motel room to the smell of old carpet and my own exhaustion. There was a message on my phone from Emily's mother. I don't know what happened between you two, but she's a mess. Please talk to her. Her mom. The same woman who called me the best thing that ever happened to Emily during our rehearsal dinner. Now asking me to fix her daughter's mess. I didn't respond. I needed space. I needed peace. But mostly, I needed to figure out what kind of man I wanted to be after this. Divorce was the obvious decision. That part was easy. But the hard part? What to do with all the love that had nowhere to go? The memories, the routines, the stupid inside jokes. What do you do when your life feels like a shared Google Doc she edited behind your back? I met with my lawyer, Jordan, Monday morning. Tell me everything you've got, he said. I handed him the flash drive. The recording. Screenshots. Emails. Hotel bookings. He didn't say a word. Just nodded, brows furrowing deeper with every click. You've got enough here to take the house, avoid spousal support, and make her boyfriend wish he never grew a beard, Jordan said. Want to hit back hard? I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to, but because I wasn't sure it would make me feel better. Just make sure she can't touch what's mine, I said. That's enough. He gave me a look. You sure? I nodded. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for peace. But peace is a process. And the next part of that process was going back to the house. She was there, of course, waiting like a ghost at the door. No makeup. Hoodie. Eyes swollen like she finally figured out tears don't fix everything. Eric, she whispered. I walked past her without a word. She followed me into the kitchen. Please, can we talk like adults? I turned slowly. Adults don't lie like children. She flinched. I don't know what to say, she muttered. Then don't say anything, I replied. I grabbed the documents off the table. The copies. The receipts. The last pieces of this life I was tearing apart piece by piece. You're really doing this? She asked. Voice shaking now. Yes. After everything we've been through? I looked her in the eyes. That's the part that makes this worse. Because of everything we've been through. She stepped closer. I didn't mean to fall out of love with you. I almost laughed. That's the most honest thing you've said in months. Silence. You don't want to try counseling? Anything? I stared at her like she was a stranger in my home. You didn't cheat with your body, Emily. You cheated with your soul. There's no counseling for that. She started crying again. Real tears this time. But I didn't feel sorry. Not anymore. I had given her my heart once. She turned it into a game board. Now the game was over. I'll move out this week, I said, walking away. You can have the furniture. I only want what can't be touched. What's that? My dignity. That night, I booked a new place. Small apartment. Clean walls. No history. And I slept like a man who just pulled a knife out of his own back and finally stopped the bleeding. Fallout doesn't come all at once. It creeps in. You'd think after something like that, the affair, the confrontation, the divorce papers, it would be over. Cut and clean. But pain lingers in places you don't expect. In the quiet moments. In the smell of your old shampoo. In the damn coffee mug she bought on that weekend trip to Asheville. The morning after I moved out, I walked into my new apartment, still echoing from emptiness, and opened a box labeled bathroom. First thing on top? Her razor. Pink. With one strand of hair still tangled in it. I stared at it for a full minute like it was some cursed artifact from a past life. And just like that, rage came back. Not the kind that burns fast. The kind that simmers. The kind that wraps around your ribs and squeezes until you can't think straight. She hadn't even noticed it was gone. That's how much she cared. That's how disposable everything had become. I didn't throw it away. I tossed it into the dumpster behind the building with every ounce of force I had. Then I sat in my car and breathed. Long and slow. Fallout isn't always fire. Sometimes it's fog. 2 days later, Derek reached out to me. Yeah, him. He found my number, probably through Emily, and texted like we were going to have some bro-to-bro heart-to-heart. Didn't mean for things to go that far, man. Thought you two were already separated. If I'd known. I didn't respond. 3 hours later, another message. She didn't tell me the full story. She said you were abusive. That one hit me like a shovel to the chest. She told him that? The woman I stayed up all night with when her father died? The woman I supported through 2 job losses? The woman I never once yelled at, even when she lied straight to my face, told this roidhead scumbag that I was the problem? That's when I knew something deeper than betrayal was at play. It wasn't just about love anymore. It was about character. And Emily had shown me hers in full HD. I called my lawyer. She's spinning lies, I said. What happens if she goes public with that story? She'd have to prove it, Jordan replied. And based on the evidence you've got, she's got no shot. But I'll file a preemptive protection clause in the divorce just in case. I nodded. Do it. Because I wasn't about to let the world see me as the villain in a story where I'd been the only one fighting to keep the house from burning down. The next week was brutal. Mutual friends started reaching out cautiously. Some sided with her. Some avoided me altogether. But the real ones? The real ones called and said the truth. I always thought she was cold, man. She changed the last year. We saw it. You deserved better. Still, every night felt like war in my head. I kept replaying old moments, wondering if the red flags had been there all along, just painted pretty. I started journaling. First time in years. Not because I'm some poet, but because I needed to bleed somewhere without staining the walls. And in one entry, I wrote something I didn't expect. Thank you for showing me who you really are. Because now, I'm free to be who I was meant to be without you. Funny, isn't it? The fallout hurts. But it also clears the ground. Burnt fields grow stronger things. The thing no one tells you about rebuilding is that it doesn't start with walls. It starts with silence. Deep, haunting silence. That first week in my apartment, the silence was loud. No clinking of her heels on the hallway floor. No passive-aggressive sighs from the bathroom. No humming while she got ready in the morning. Just the sound of me breathing and wondering who the hell I was now. You don't just walk away from a 7-year marriage and bounce back. You limp. Every step forward feels like you're dragging a version of yourself behind you. One that keeps asking, what did I miss? What could I have done different? But that's the lie, isn't it? That there's something you could have done to stop it. That's how they trap you with guilt. They cheat and lie, and somehow, you're still the one tearing yourself apart. No more. I joined a boxing gym. Not for fitness. For clarity. There's something about punching a heavy bag that helps sort thoughts better than any therapist. Every morning, 6 a.m., I'd be there. Gloves on. Hood up. No music. Just the sound of fists and breath. The first time I hit that bag thinking about Emily's whisper, you proved you're a man. Mine only talks, I nearly broke my wrist. But it felt good. Real. Raw. I also started reconnecting with people I'd lost along the way. You'd be surprised how much of your life you abandon when you're married to someone who drains you. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years started showing up. Not with judgment. Just beer, conversation, and space to be me again. One night, my buddy Caleb came over with pizza and a six-pack. We sat on the floor, no couch yet, and watched old college football games. Between bites, he looked at me and said, "You look better. Tired, but better." I smiled. I feel honest. Honest. Yeah, I said. For the first time in years, I'm not pretending to be okay in my own house. He nodded, then raised his bottle. To brutal honesty. To no more masks. That became a ritual. Every Friday beer, game, no lies. I needed that. I needed to rebuild not just my space, but my self-worth. I stopped checking Emily's socials. I stopped wondering if she and Derek were still together. Because truth is, I didn't care anymore. That chapter was dead, and I wasn't about to haunt it like a ghost looking for closure. I started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. The first date was awkward. I kept comparing everything to Emily, her laugh, her eyes, the way she sipped her drink. But I caught myself. Shut it down. This new woman wasn't her, and that was a good thing. Her name was Jessica. Kind smile. Smart. Talked more about books than drama. After the second date, I told her the truth, not the whole story, just that I'd recently gotten out of something messy. She didn't flinch. Just nodded. We've all got ghosts, she said. The question is, are you done letting them live rent-free in your head? I didn't kiss her that night, but her words stuck with me. And she was right. Rebuilding isn't just about new furniture or fresh routines. It's about clearing out the ghosts. Making space for something honest. Something clean. I wasn't healed. Not fully. But I was standing. Breathing. Living. That was more than I could say 6 weeks ago. And that was enough. The last box I unpacked had nothing but old photos. Us in Italy. Us at her sister's wedding. Us on the couch, laughing at something I couldn't even remember anymore. I held one in my hand for a long time. We were in the mountains, arms wrapped tight, faces glowing. Back when love felt real. Or maybe it just felt convenient. I thought about throwing them all away. Burning them, even. But I didn't. I slid them into a drawer, not out of nostalgia, but as evidence. Proof of who I was, and who I'll never be again. Closure doesn't come with a final conversation. It comes in waves, slow and unexpected. Like the time I walked past the candle aisle at the store and caught a whiff of her favorite scent, vanilla cedar, and didn't flinch. Or when our song played in a coffee shop, and I didn't leave. I just listened. Smiled a little. Then let it go. I didn't hate her anymore. Hating her meant she still had a piece of me. She didn't. She had her chance. She bet on someone else. Lied, disrespected, humiliated. And when the mask finally slipped, she wasn't sorry she did it, just sorry I found out. But here's the thing about betrayal. It breaks you in such a way that you can rebuild with stronger parts. I kept boxing. Kept writing. Kept seeing Jessica slowly, with patience, like someone learning to walk again. One night, a few months later, Emily showed up at my apartment. I opened the door, and there she was. Same eyes. Same perfume. Different energy. I was just in the area, she said. No, you weren't. She hesitated. Can we talk? I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. No way I was letting her into this new space. This was sacred ground now. What is there to talk about? I asked. She looked tired. Not physically. Spiritually. Like the weight of her decisions finally caught up. I made a mistake, she said. I thought he was what I needed. But he's not you. I stared at her. Not angry. Not emotional. Just detached. Emily, you didn't just cheat. You destroyed something. And then tried to sell me the ashes with a smile. Her eyes welled up. But I didn't offer comfort. I didn't come here to get back together, she whispered. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For real. I nodded. Good. Then say it. And go. She swallowed. I'm sorry. For what? For making you feel small. For treating you like you weren't enough. For laughing behind your back. For turning you into a punchline when you deserved loyalty. I let the silence hang. Then I said, apology accepted. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. She nodded, wiped her eyes, and walked away. That was the real end. Not the affair. Not the divorce. That moment, when she finally said what needed to be said, and I didn't need her to say it anymore. I closed the door, poured a drink, and sat on the balcony. Looking out over the city, I realized something. I was still the man I'd always been, loyal, grounded, strong. But now, I was wiser. And if I could speak to any man walking through the hell I walked through, I'd say this. Don't chase the version of her you once loved. That version died the moment she betrayed you. Mourn it. Bury it. Then rebuild. Brick by painful brick. Because the loudest answer really does need no sound. And the strongest man? He rises from silence. Alone. But undefeated.